Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us. We have a bunch of attendees that are still joining us. We're going to give it another 30 or 40 seconds, and then we will get started. So hang tight. Thank you. All right, so let's get started. Thank you again, everyone, for taking time out of your day today to join us for our webinar, Facilities Post-COVID-19, Create Contactless Experiences with Smart Lockers. My name is Katie with Smiota. I will be your facilitator today. And here's what to expect. As we've promoted, we have 3 solutions that we'll be talking about that are all on one platform. We have package delivery, IT assets, and food delivery. And then we are really excited to share with you that we will have a special Q&A session with our special guest, Denny Menelang from Workday, where we'll be asking him a few questions about his experiences with Smiota and the Smiota solution at Workday. Okay. So to get started, excuse me. So as this is promoted, we'll be touching a lot on post-COVID, but really talking about the Smiota delivery ecosystem. So ultimately, kind of looking at it as a hub and spoke model, it's one platform that can be customized to a bunch of different solutions that meet your specific and unique needs. So for example, you think about package delivery, but then also it can be applied with food delivery, also IT assets, and many more emerging applications as we get through post-COVID. So when we think about smart lockers, what typically comes to mind? Parcel package, right? I mean, that's been around for quite some time. And why I'm going to spend just a few minutes is I really would like to unpack, not pun intended, but unpack what it really means to have smart lockers applied to your business. So with that, I have a case study here where we actually reduced time wasted by 75% when currently delivering to desks. And how is this possible? Well, we've done this time study at companies where we have our smart locker solution, such as Facebook, Workday, and even Brooklyn Navy Yard, which I'll be digging in, and we're excited to share a little bit more in a few minutes here. But let's kind of break this down and look at what does it actually mean. So if you could, just put yourself in the shoes of mailroom staff before having anything like a smart locker. So you receive all the packages for the day. You have to sort the packages by perhaps building. Maybe you have one building, but then you need to sort it by floor, and then you also have to go by department, just again to try to gain some level of efficiency. Then you have to deliver it to the individual's desks, which you're going to need a signature for receipt for a proof of confirmation, which again is not a contactless experience at all. And if the employee isn't there, mailroom staff will have to notify you, probably an email, or leave you a note of some sort. You need to schedule a pickup, which again is at the time when somebody's available from the mailroom to be able to make that exchange. So again, just thinking about that, pre-COVID, completely inefficient, post-COVID, not contactless. Now put yourself into the employee's perspective. So again, you get your package as an employee that's working at their desk, and in theory, it's just a 5-minute interruption. However, from an employer standpoint, and context switching happens all day long. There are interruptions that happen all day long, and there's just another interruption when you have a package that comes, because that employee might be knee deep in your Excel spreadsheet, reading something, programming, you name it. And now I'm interrupted and I have to decide, okay, do I want to open up that package or not? And then I got the nosy neighbor next door, which we all know we have, that wants to talk about it and wants to know, well, what did you get? Or they weren't there, they got notified, and they have to go pick up the package, which again, isn't necessarily convenient for them. It's convenient for when the mailroom is open. Okay, so now let's shift gears, and what does it look like after smart lockers? So mailroom staff at most only has to sort those packages by building. No longer is it floor or department or trying to create efficiencies as to where everybody is located. The staff uses the mailroom mobile app from Smiota to scan the shipping labels. There's a wireless printer integration, prints the labels, the recipient's name, it's scanned, and it takes about 15 seconds. That's it. The packages are then loaded into the lockers, which triggers an app notification, a text message notification, or an email to the recipient that their packages are available for pickup. Now, again, think about it. You went from trying to sort from building to floor to department to now just having it by building. It's a simple math equation as to what the ROI is from before to after. Now, again, let's shift gears and put ourselves in the shoes of the employee. The employee is notified, as I mentioned, with their Smiota app, perhaps a text message or an email that they have a package. No longer do I need to worry about my nosy neighbor about what package I received, and I can retrieve that package when it's convenient for me. It can be on my way out the door, on my way home, it could be on my lunch hour, it could be when I'm taking a break. And by the way, it's completely contactless experience as well as it could be a touchless experience. Smiota lockers have the touch screen already built in, but you don't have to use the touch screen, which again, post-COVID era, trying to minimize the number of surfaces that we touch. Rather, you can use the app on your phone. The door is going to open up and you can simply close that door with the nudge of an elbow. Again, it's a simple math equation for your employers to look at from a productivity standpoint as the amount of time that's saved from interruption. So with that being said, I'd love to transition over. Again, we're still talking about packages here, but it's a brand new use case that we have close collaboration with and tight collaboration with the Millennium Group at the Brooklyn Navy Yard. So let's frame this up. So here was the challenge. So before, and oftentimes what we think about is it's one business that we're trying to solve a package management solution for. In this instance, we were talking about 400 businesses in multiple locations, 14 buildings to be exact, with over 10,000 people. And as you can imagine, that was a logistical nightmare with just 5 mailroom staff, trying to manage 83,000 packages a year. And unfortunately, because there was not necessarily this type of solution in place, they were unable to uphold their service level agreement of a same-day delivery. Unfortunately, missing packages were happening. They were far behind in their delivery, and just it was inefficient. Like I said, it was a logistical nightmare. So the solution, again, through strong collaboration of the Millennium Group, which is a full service provider in outsourced mail services, and Smiota with our mailroom automation and lockers, we were able to serve a one-stop integrated solution of 14 lockers in those 14 buildings. So as I mentioned before, again, you're not having to sort, in this instance, from the building to the actual company, and if there's multiple floors in the department, it's much more simple. You just need to know the buildings, and there were lockers within each one of those buildings. They were able to actually continue with just the 5 mailroom staff of delivering an average of 316 packages a day, which makes up around that 83,000 packages for the year. And because we were using, again, with all the software automation, again, that hub and spoke model, we were able to customize the solution, this unique solution, to the Brooklyn Navy Yard with a complete chain of custody. All solutions have the chain of custody involved with them. All lockers have sensors to know when a package was taken out or put in, and complete tracking and data on the back end. And they were also able to uphold their one-day delivery SLA. So a complete success in our minds, which again was that logistical nightmare, now down to a streamlined, integrated, and data-driven solution. So I've talked enough about package delivery here. I'm going to move right along to IT assets. We believe post-COVID era, there are going to be emerging use cases for this type of solution. Again, it's not just a one-stop, here's what it is. It can be, because of the platform that it's built upon, it can be really customized for just thinking about that contactless exchange of goods. So think about it from an IT solution perspective. So here's a few use cases that maybe haven't come to mind for you. So think about this: onboarding employees, allowing them to retrieve their machines on the first day, again, in a contactless experience, or have preloaded laptops put into the smart lockers and assign them to users on the fly when they are needed. Again, creating that contactless experience and also having a complete chain of custody with the data of knowing when something was taken in or taken out or put in. Also being able to provide a loaner laptop to employees. So say my laptop broke down, in many cases, you would have to go to the IT department. You may not have a laptop for a few hours because they're trying to fix it. IT could preload some of the lockers with machines that now, as an employee, I can go put my broken laptop in and I can take a new laptop so I can continue my productivity and doing the job that I need to do for the day. Or another use case would be storing those additional supplies. I can't tell you how many times I have forgotten my adapter to be able to charge my laptop or even my phone. So again, another great way for, again, contactless exchange and ease of use for the employee where they don't need to wait around for something. So additional supplies such as adapters or chargers, keyboards, or a mouse. Or another instance of this is to have users return the devices, such as leadership returning devices for users that are no longer at the company. It's a simple drop off, and there's no question as to, well, what do I do with all this extra equipment, as well as IT doesn't need to be running around and keeping track of everything from that perspective as well. So again, as I mentioned earlier, there's a complete entire audit trail to ensure proper chain of custody for each piece of IT equipment, which is fantastic for IT. That's really trying to make sure that you know, some of these expensive pieces of equipment don't have legs and walk off by themselves, or simply don't get lost, or perhaps you have the employee that hoards things because they just can't keep track. Also, software integrations. A lot of larger companies use ServiceNow or other IT support and asset management systems to have that sort of integration to, again, help streamline the experience, not only for the IT department, as well as the employees. Other benefits, again, as I mentioned, just to touch on this again, improve productivity. Again, nobody has to go without their equipment that they need, as well as they don't need to be running around trying to find an IT person to help them out. It makes a really streamlined experience. Again, the complete chain of custody, everything is able to be tracked. Safely exchange of equipment, social distancing. You don't need to have people joining at departments, as well as there's that contactless experience or touchless experience. Reduced operational costs, increased employee productivity, as well as user satisfaction. I mean, it's pretty cool to be able just to use this type of functionality versus sort of a old school sort of way. All right, last but not least, for our third solution of many that we'll be touching on today is food delivery. So if you think prior to COVID, I think about some of the you know, towers with the lobbies, and you have your Grubhubs and your Uber Eats, and they're all delivering the food, and it sits there, and the person that's sort of manning the lobby, if you will, says, what am I going to do with this? And so go put it over there at the table, or maybe there's a closet of some sort that has some shelving where they drop things off. And so there's really no accountability, no tracking. Somebody might accidentally take your food by accident. More times than not, the employee isn't waiting for the food, as well as like I said, the receptionist doesn't want to keep track of that. So post-COVID, you know, dining areas are starting to open up. In-house food halls are starting to open up. Restaurants are as well. And again, everybody's still continuing to urge trying to minimize that person-to-person interaction. And so we think that post-COVID, food delivery lockers will be definitely a choice going forward that more businesses than not will be picking up on. And one of the things that I want to mention here, the picture that you see on the left is actually the backside of a locker. So if you have a in-house sort of cafeteria or kitchen, rather than another way to deliver that food or a way for employees to pick up that food is for that kitchen to actually backload that locker. And then on the front side, no different than you're taking your IT assets or your packages, you can actually take the food from the front side. Um, Additional benefits here is that if you do have a Grubhub or Uber Eats or any of those other types of food delivery, our solution is courier agnostic. Several couriers can use the same exact locker in the same locker bank. Again, automatic notifications to provide when delivered and picked up, so that employee will be notified, app, text, or email that their food has been delivered. Again, it's contactless delivery and retrieval. And it can be a wide range of materials as well as branding options. Again, here's just a picture rendering, if you will, as well as not only can they be metal lockers, laminate lockers, but also temperature controlled lockers. So from like a refrigerated perspective. So that covers the three solutions. Again, we touched on a lot on package delivery and some of those benefits and the exciting use case and how things can be really customized to the users, IT assets, and then food delivery. And like I said, we imagine that there's going to be more emerging applications of these smart lockers going forward post-COVID. So with that, I would love to welcome our special guest, Denny Menelang, who is the Mail Services Manager at Workday. He actually, again, so graciously has given us a few minutes of his time today, which again, thank you, Denny. He has worked at Workday for 3 years, but he actually has been doing this for 20 plus years. His experience is 15 years working at Cisco, 6 years at Google, and as I mentioned, 3 years working at Workday. So with that, Denny, are you on with us?
Yes, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hi,
Yes.
Denny.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Kitty. Yeah, just as mentioned, as far as the delivery deduction time, yeah, we average about 30 to 40 packages a day, depending on which you're building. It used to take us about an hour and a half to an hour 45 minutes to deliver all these packages, and that got reduced to about 15 to 20, 25 minutes, depending on how many packages there is. Also at Workday, we only not support the shipping and receiving. We also do conference room setups and moves. By having lockers, we are able to tackle those other tasks that we have throughout the day, as far as meeting being set up, classes or trainings. Most of our time are focused on those. So by having the lockers, it really helped us give us enough time to prepare and manage those conference rooms. As far as feedback from customers, the one thing they love is that it's secure and they can go anytime they want to go, whenever to pick up the package, either during lunch, during break, or on their way out, go home. It's private and it's sitting in one room. It doesn't take a lot of space. And they just like the fact that it's the technology part of it. Everybody's on their phone. They get an email notification, and automatically they know, where to go and what to get on their locker. And as far as the notification, they like how it's a real-time notification. As soon as the packages is delivered to the locker, a few seconds later, our staff walks away. They already get the alert. Other than that, I mean, there's a lot of, customers like it because it's the secure part of it.
Great. So just for clarification here, so you had mentioned that it was 1.5 to 2 hours or so. And how many packages a day were you managing?
We get about, maybe on a slow day, we get about 30 to 50, and then maybe 70 to 100 a day.
Okay. Okay, great. And then can you describe to us just in a little bit more detail? So after you had the Smiota solution installed, can you tell us how many locker banks were installed? And again, just recap again how quickly it was able to save, or how much time you were able to save?
Yeah, we have 10 buildings. As you can see on this slide, those are most of the lockers that we have per building, but we have two buildings that are actually larger than the other ones. And we have two sets of those, so 50 lockers for those two big buildings.
Okay.
It takes us 15 to 20 minutes to deliver all these packages. Um, as far as whose route, it really speeds up the delivery process with these lockers.
Perfect. Great. And then do you notice, are people tending to get their packages right away? Do they usually pick them up at the end of the day? Do you notice any sort of trend with that, or are you privy to that?
Yeah, we have no issues at all with packages as far as staying in there for more than, we limit them for 2 weeks on a slow season. On a
Mhm.
high season like Christmas, we limit it to about 5 days, but we never have any issues. People are always excited to get a package. Sometimes we deliver it, a few minutes later, it's already gone. Um, for the most part, by the next day, it's almost been cleared, except for people that are out on PTO. They would send us a message saying, sorry for the delay, but can I pick it up, in a couple of days? But it's always, easy enough for us to let it sit there for over maybe about a week when they come back. And for the most part, they're usually empty as soon as they get their package.
Sure, perfect. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention for all of our attendees, please feel free to use the chat function or the Q&A function. We, as I mentioned earlier on, we do have time built in for Q&A into the presentation, and we would definitely welcome, again, questions, comments, anything and everything. And certainly, if we don't have enough time at the end of the presentation, we will send everything out in a follow-up email being able to answer those questions. So I think I have just a couple more slides here. Denny, you did mention the feedback from the employees. Was there any sort of anything that you sort of witnessed that, just kind of put a smile to your face when you saw kind of how your employees were engaging with these lockers?
Um, for the most part, it's just people learning. They can actually send their personal packages at work. Once we mentioned the locker, the technology part of it, and how they get the alert, they're like, "Oh wow, this is so easy." It's the benefit that Workday gives them, and it gives them that security for the most part, because when they live in an apartment, that's what the stories we get is like, oh wow, last time I sent this, and by the time I got home, it was gone. I don't know where it went. Um, they just like the part that it's actually there. They get before they even check the status of the package where it's at, they already got an email from the Workday email as far as when we deliver it. Also, just want to add, I'm not sure if you mentioned or I missed it, but outgoing packages are also being deposited in the lockers if they want to make it secure. We have that implemented in our system. So when our staff goes to the locker, as soon as they log in, the lockers that have outgoing packages automatically opens right away. They don't even have to check what is outgoing. So once we log on, if there's 3 packages that are already in the outgoing section, those lockers are already open, and our staff will just actually grab those packages, put them in a cart, and take them back to the shipping area.
Great. Now, you touched on this. You obviously you have the lockers, and you also mentioned something about the service app. Could you tell us a little bit more about how you went from just the locker solution and then started exploring the service app with Smiota and what that has done for you guys?
Yes, when I got a Workday, we used to do a manual process. So we also manage conference room as far as when we, first thing in the morning, we have one staff that actually manage the conference rooms. They go in the conference room, they make sure the whiteboard is clean, they have markers, they have the wipes, they have the spray bottle, eraser, and making sure that the room is just tidy enough for a meeting, pushing the chairs, but not the janitorial part. So we go in a room, we check in, and then a pop-up will come up and say that, all these, if the chairs are aligned, the markers are there, clean, the table is clean, we have the wipes. Um, by doing this with this Miota service app, we don't have to manually count how many rooms were serviced per day per week. I can just go in in my laptop and click on the service app, and I can tell how many rooms are actually serviced by my staff. There's also a manual process where if you cannot enter a room, if you're doing, for example, building A, and 10 rooms are being used, there's also a manual process with the Smiota phone where you can actually say this room is occupied, and that's also gives me a report on how many were serviced and how many were occupied.
Perfect.
And to add to this, we're actually, since this COVID has happened, our janitorial is also looking into using the same service app to monitor how many times they go in the restroom and in the stalls. They also can have a drop down where, are the toilet paper replaced? Is there enough paper towels, soap, and things like that?
Perfect. So that kind of goes right in line here with trends that you see in the workplace. So maybe further exploration of that service app to help monitor how areas are being used.
Yes, since we don't know how many times the janitorial keeps it clean, and employees are now going to be cautious on, oh, did somebody just come in here clean it? Did somebody just used it? So now we're looking into actually using the app as well to let the customers know that how restrooms are being cleaned, how often they are being serviced.
Okay, perfect. I have one more question for you that's not on here, and then we'll get into the actual Q&A. But did you run into any sort of unforeseen things as you were starting to work with Smiota? Any hurdles that you had to overcome? Anything along those lines?
Not for the most part. I mean, all the guys that I've been introduced to and Jyoti, they've been easy enough to work with, and the service is just, beyond what I expected. When I need something, it's always usually I got to respond right away, or a tech will come over, which is minimal. It's usually just probably connection or whatnot with the Wi-Fi. But for the most part, everything has been going good. We haven't had any major issues in not being able to open a locker, not able to power it up, but everything else has been pretty much positive.
Perfect. Okay, so we are going to open it up for Q&A, which we do have a few questions that are coming in. So for those of you that have some questions, please take a few moments as we're answering these now to put them into the chat or the Q&A function. Either one is fine. So this first question is for Denny. How do you manage will call?
Oh, will call. Any large items that we have that comes in, like bikes and large teddy bears or whatnot, we do have a service window. And at the service window, we have a tablet that was supplied by Smiota where they can actually do a signature. Or for now, like the FedEx are doing, we can actually sign it off for them. At this time, we are not actually using the lockers. We're having, customers show up, and we'll meet them by the door, and we'll hand their package out to them, and then we'll sign it off for them. But yeah, any will call, we scan those, and they get a notification right away that the package is on will call, and they come to our service window.
Okay, perfect. So that was through a, sorry, I hear feedback, through a tablet provided through Smiota to help with that sort of chain of custody.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Let's see, the questions are coming in, so this is fantastic. I think this next question is actually going to be for Wahid, who is our head of marketing and sales at Smiota. So Wahid, are you off of mute?
Yeah, yes, I am.
Perfect. Okay, so Wahid, for food temperature controlled lockers, can you build all of them the same size for maybe 2 meals per locker?
Yes, the food temperature lockers are of the same size. And then what's interesting about our temperature control lockers is the form factor is the same. They're about 15 cubic inches in dimension across the depth and height and width. And they maintain three types of temperatures. You can have heated food between 105 to 130 degree Fahrenheit. You can have ambient food between 65, 70. You can have refrigerated around 40 degrees to 35 Fahrenheit, and even frozen. So you can also put ice creams and stuff like that. So they come in 8 doors, and you can always plug them to a regular system. For example, if you have package lockers and you decide to take food delivery, you just plug in the bank of refrigerated lockers, and our system will automatically detect and configure. And you can remotely set the temperature and also manage the whole thing remotely. So that's very convenient.
Perfect. Okay, another question regarding ServiceNow. So can Smiota app work with ServiceNow, such as create a ServiceNow ticket based on content entered into the Smiota app?
So we work with the ServiceNow API. So what happens is, once the ticket is cleared, so we can let ServiceNow API, through the APIs, know exactly what has transacted at the locker, and those policy decisions are made in the backend. So, for example, if the notification is once the employee picks up their laptop, the ticket has to be cleared, we will just say we'll make that API call and clear it. So it's not a problem there.
Okay. Another question, will you be able to view the pick from the locker system?
Pick of, I'm trying to understand the picture of the package itself, or I'm not
Perhaps.
sure.
Um,
We don't have cameras within the locker, but we do have sensors in each of the lockers. So if there's a physical object placed, we will know. But we do have the ability in the mail room to take a picture of the package itself. So we use that feature. If there's a damage to the package, you can when you receive the package in the mail room, shipping and receiving room, you can take a picture and then send it to the recipient saying, look, we received it damaged.
okay. A few more coming in. What do you do with packages that are in a locker for over 5 days? And maybe this is more geared towards Denny, or maybe Wahid, you could also answer just from some of your experience with additional clients.
So from our perspective, we base it on the policy of the organization. So if they say after 3 days or 4 days, whatever time you set, it's programmable from our backend. We can send repeated reminders. And then when the staff goes to pick up, to deposit new packages, we have this idea of an expired package. So those doors will open and you pull them off. And now you put them back in storage until the employees are ready to pick it up. So they'll call and maybe you can enable will call at that time.
Okay. The picture that I showed previously with the food lockers that are backloaded, how do you, with these types of pictures, which again, this is a rendering, but how do you open them?
So there are two options here. So the backloading can be with certain doors in the back, just to prevent people from crawling into the kitchen area through the open door. So we do have that option, but they're really for day use where it's a short window, right? People will come and pick up their food in less than 10 minutes after they place their order. So they'll use the app to click the button. But in the back end, what happens is, again, it could be where there's a touch screen, and once the order is placed, the person's name is used, and then the locker door is assigned to that food item. And the notification goes to the employee saying it's in this locker. When they come and click on their app, the appropriate door opens. So the interface is in for the cafeteria staff to be able to choose the name of the person and drop off that food item for them.
Okay. Is all the temperature control, sorry, let me reread this. Is all of the temperature controlled in the same unit, or are they different units, heated or refrigerated?
So each unit of 8 doors will be either heated or it'll be refrigerated or frozen. It's not very efficient because these are all forced air solutions. So what happens is you can't randomly change for each separate locker door, but the entire unit is of the same temperature.
Okay. Looks like just a couple more questions. Again, if you guys have any other ones, please type them in now. Can you share information on maintenance, such as cleaning and sanitizing, which are obviously heightened concerns since COVID-19?
I can talk about the new technology, and then probably Denny can also address this as how he's doing it at Workday. We have integrated UV cleaning technology in the locker, so it's an add-on feature. So if you order lockers with the UVC, then we enable that feature. So whenever the locker doors are closed, our software can turn on the UV light and sanitize the insides of the locker. And this can also be done between usage. So somebody uses the locker, picks up their food. Before the next one goes in, you can turn it on and sanitize it, right? The surface of the lockers, maybe using the service app, you can actually make lockers one of your cleaning areas. So you can go and checkbox it using Smyra's service app that you've regularly cleaned it. Maybe Denny can add to that as saying how he is dealing with sanitizing the outside of the lockers, right? We do have antibacterial finish in some of our laminates, so that's another option. And then you can also use our app to regularly maintain and service it.
Yeah, at Workday, since most of our lockers are in a copy room, we do have supplies of cleaning supplies there, like the wipes. On the first day, what we do is we pretty much wipe it down, as far as especially the screen where everybody touches it before we start our deliveries. Yeah, pretty much most of the touch, as far as human touch by hand, are being done on the outside of the locker when opening and closing, and especially the screen. So we just have a cleaning wipes in the cop room that we use.
Perfect. It looks like we have our last question here. What has been the process for couriers loading the lockers, and has there been any issues working with them?
So most of the enterprise space we've seen is you have internal staff loading up the lockers. If the question is, can couriers come and directly load to the lockers? It all depends on where they're located and if the couriers have been given access. Because of security reasons, most companies we've worked with don't allow for couriers to directly to lockers. And that's why you have the hub and spoke model, right? But in other use cases like the residential, we do have the ability for couriers. The experience is very much same as a mailroom staff using the lockers. They'll choose the name of the employee and choose the locker size and deposit a package for them.
Okay. A couple more. Since we have just a few more minutes, why not take them? In food delivery locker example in the presentation, the slide, do you offer temperature controlled options in these different sizes?
So this one is not temperature controlled. So you have to go back to, this is be at ambient temperature. You have to go back to the refrigerated lockers. And so this is the blue locker you see on the right is temperature controlled, and they're all of the same size. The one on the left is a frozen locker, and these are designed for either indoor or outdoor use. So because they come with a lot more insulation, and they do have an air conditioning compressor system, HVAC system up there, so they're function and they run slightly differently, right? And they're self-closing. So the doors are normal lockers. The doors are spring open. So as soon as you scan and you choose the door, they pop open. These are closed by default. So the LED lights up, and then you got to pull them open because they magnetically seal for insulation.
Okay. Another question, if I am Grubhub, for example, how would I know that I need to deliver to a locker versus an individual?
So if there are two ways to do it. If you are, when they enter the building, let's say they are given a special entrance to say all food deliveries will happen to lockers. They can come to the location. These lockers are there, and then choose the employee name, and boom, the door will open for them to deliver. So it's a matter of just setting up the policy and informing couriers that food deliveries will be done to our refrigerated lockers. And they don't necessarily have to be refrigerated. So if your policy is, I just want lockers because I know food will be there for not more than 10 minutes, you can even use standard lockers for delivery, right? Both options are available.
Perfect. Okay, looks like our last question. What is the cost of a refrigeration unit?
So the refrigeration units are definitely higher. They normally retail for us at about each unit's about $13,500. But they all come, and the cool thing is you can use multiple of those units and set them at different temperatures. So the same order, if somebody orders ice cream with a hot drink or some hot food, you can, for the same order, use different doors. And then when they come to pick up, all those relevant doors will open for them.
Perfect. Okay, so with that, I think we'll wrap up the Q&A section, but certainly if any of you on the call have any other additional questions, please feel free to email us at sales@smyota.com. Furthermore, as part of what to expect going after this webinar, we will send you the recording that you can share with your colleagues, as well as a brochure and also a survey. And certainly our contact information is here and will also be part of the email if you do have follow-up questions as well. So with that, again, a special thanks to Denny. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to share your experience at Workday with us. We greatly appreciate it. And thank you to everyone who joined us for this webinar. We hope you stay well and take care, and thank you again. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.